Hello and welcome to our tutorial, My First Steps with Biwee. We are going to build together a first dashboard. To build a dashboard, you will have to connect to the software part of Biwee with your login and password. If you do not have the software installed on your computer, connect to the Biwee web portal. In the Download tab, you will find the Biwee download. Once this is done, you can connect to the Biwee software to start creating your first dashboard. If you want to make a dashboard with the same dataset as I do, I invite you to download the Excel file, which is accessible via the download link in the video description. First of all, we go to the menu on the left of Biwee and click on Dashboards. We will add our first dashboard. Here we are in the Data view. A dashboard has one or more datasets, and a dataset is built from one or more queries. This is where you can perform joins and/or unions if necessary. We add data to our dashboard. To do this, I have to create a query and therefore set up its connection. Here, Biwee offers us different types of connectors. In this case, we will use an Excel file, so we will select the associated connector. To add my Excel file, I can either drag and drop my file or select it. Then I validate. We are in the query configuration. In the case of an Excel file, we have to specify the sheet to read and the number of lines to ignore at the beginning and at the end of our sheet. We have a preview of the data in the Result tab. If everything is okay, we give a name to our query and then validate. Here is our first dataset composed of one query. Here we have data about a company that manufactures and sells bicycles in the world. For now, my dataset contains only one query. We will see later in the tutorial how to add more queries. We can now switch to the design view of our dashboard. We can see on the left a drop-down list of our dataset, and just below the fields associated to the selected dataset. The fields are ordered by text, date, and number fields. On the right, we have all the components that will be used to build our dashboard. If I want to display the distribution of sales by category, I will select the component pie chart. For most of the Biwee components, we have arguments and series value settings. The field entered in value will be able to be split by arguments and/or by series. In this case, we will drag the sales amount column in value. Biwee will automatically sum all the values in this column, but you can change the aggregation function according to your needs. When I drag and drop category in argument, I get a distribution of the sales by category. Now we want to have information over time. To do this, I will select the chart component, to which I will drag our sales amount in the value field, and I will split my sales by my date field. By default, Biwee has grouped the data by year. As soon as you have a date field in your data, Biwee can automatically group them by month, quarter, week, etc. I can, for example, group it by quarter, and here we get the sales split by quarter for all years. We can redistribute this data by year. For this, I only have to add my date field, but this time I place it in the series field. If I want to change the appearance of my graph, I click on the three small bars to the right of my value field, and I can change the shape of my graph into a curve, a zone, etc. I can also add labels for more visibility. We are interested in where the sales are made. I will choose my map component. The maps in Biwee are based on a standard shape file. Behind each map, there is a table of association of each zone with its label. Biwee offers several maps by default, but it is possible to import other maps. We will keep the world map for this case. In the attribute zone, I will drag my countries, and in the value zone, I will add my sales amounts. To get information about the sales representatives, I will add a cards component. This component enables to automatically compare the variation between two numerical values in the actual field and in the target field. I will put my sales amounts in the actual field. Biwee displays the total revenue of the company. I split it in series with the sales representatives, and if I add my target value, I have the variation between the realized revenue and the target for each sales representative. I can change the appearance of the cards with the cog. For example, I can choose a light model. If we need to add a query to our dashboard, we can go back to the data view of our dashboard and click on Add Data. We create a new connection. This time we will add an Excel file that gives us more information about our company's sales representatives. I select my Excel connector, I configure my query, and I validate. Now we have two independent datasets, each composed of a query represented by these two bubbles. These two datasets are accessible in our dashboard, and we can link them to analyze them together, either through a join or through a union. I decide to do a join using drag and drop. I have to select the columns used for the join if Biwee has not detected them automatically. We now have a single dataset, which is the join of two queries. We have all our sales rows with on the right the information of the sales representative who made the sale. I now go back to my dashboard view. We can find all the new columns of our join. Now we want to correlate the sales representative's revenue with their seniority. I now have a hire date column, and from this column, I will be able to add a calculated field that calculates the seniority. To do this, right-click on my columns and add a calculated field. A window will open where I will enter my expression. You can type the function directly or go and look for them in the functions repository. They are classified by type: string function, date function. I want to calculate the number of years between the hire date and today. For that, I write date_diff_year. In first argument, I put my values of hire date, and in second argument, I put the today function, which gives me the current date. I validate, and I can rename this field for a better understanding. Now that I have my calculated field, I'll add it to a grid component. I'll drag my sales representatives and their revenue. I'll finally drag my calculated field. By default, the seniority being a numeric value, Biwee has added it as a measure and applied the sum aggregation function. You can change the behavior of the column by changing it to dimension. Then you get the seniority of each sales representative. Now we want to add interaction between the components. For that, we have a cog for each component. If I click on it, Biwee shows us an interaction part, a layout part, and a filter part. For the cards, I will decide to add a multiple main filter. Now when I click on a sales representative, all my dashboard is filtered on that salesman. I can remove my filter by clicking on the funnel button. In Biwee, I can also add a drill down. For example, on my pie chart, if I want to have the sales information by category and by subcategory of product, I just have to add in the arguments zone, my subcategory. In this case, Biwee has given us the distribution of sales by category and subcategory. That makes us a lot of elements. To regulate this, I can make a top end of my arguments or make a drill down. I click on the cog and I activate the drill down. Now when I click on bicycle, I have the distribution of the sales by the subcategories of bicycle. I can go up one argument level by clicking on the arrow button. If I want, I can totally change the layout of my dashboard. I can resize each component or move it with a drag and drop to the place I want. When my dashboard is finished and I want to see it on the Biwee webpage, I save my dashboard. Then, for a dashboard to be visible on biwee.fr, the data must be accessible by our servers, such as a file on a drive or a database to which we have access. If your data is local, as is the case for my Excel files, Biwee lets you publish the data on our servers. These data are encrypted and transmitted via SSL channel. I click on Publish, and we can notice that the button to see online is now available. When I click on it, I can see my dashboard online. We can check that the interactions are present. For the moment, I am the only one who can see this dashboard. To modify this, I go back to Biwee and I go to the Share menu. In the Share window, I select the user S, to whom I want to share my dashboard and to give them either a viewer right or a modification right. I can also send an email to inform the users of their new access. Thank you for following this tutorial, and see you soon for new videos on Biwee.